Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Caution of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, like we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the Internet via our Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me today, as he does on most Wednesdays, is that man from Virginia, that man from Florida, that man from Bahamas, all in one, Jonathan Mosley. John, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Great to be here. I'm a creature of habit here on Wednesday.
That's a good thing.
Back.
I think you're also a creature of habit of a little bit of Dick Cavett, you know? Whenever I hear you talk, I picture Dick Cavett.
Well, I'd trade a career. We'll see. Who knows?
There you go. There you go. So, John, what's going on today?
We're not going to get through everything going on today. That's for sure. Why don't I run down our guests first, because I also want to talk about the guest we're not going to have.
Okay.
So if people want to find out which guest are we not going to have on today, based on what's in the news. We're going to start out, and I just sent off an email. What I should have thought of earlier is, how do I pronounce her name correctly? I'll have her PR people. We're going to have a woman involved in the film Honor Diaries, the one that caused the leader to be to be canceled from Brandeis University. That's creating all the controversy. This is really a tremendous news story, sad thing. But Zainab Khan is one of the women in the film Honor Diaries, in the project about the Muslim abuse of women, and she's going to be talking about her story and the film, and how people can get involved, how people can bring the film to their community, theater, high school, college, go to a theater and try to get it going. Tomorrow is supposed to be the United Nations Day of the Woman, if I understand correctly, so they had hoped to have one focus event be May 8th, but it'll be ongoing. So she'll be talking about that at 3:30, and that's really a great honor. It'll be a difficult topic. I think I want to just get out of the way as much as possible and let her tell her story. Then at 4, we're going to have J. Christian Adams, who is PJ Media's legal editor and a former U.S. Department of Justice attorney who is a whistleblower. He couldn't stand the politicization of the U.S. Department of Justice under Eric Holder, and he quit and told everybody about it. There's so many things this guy could talk to us about, but this day we're just going to pick one. We're going to go with voter fraud, which is something that he has a great deal of knowledge about, and everybody on the left says it's not happening. It doesn't exist. It's we're trying to, voter ID laws and everything are a solution without a problem. Then we're going to end up with bringing back with us Stephanie Katerina Wisman, and we're going to try to pronounce her name correctly this time. But I've been very concerned about the whole debate about the oil industry and alternative energy and green energy, and this is always this accusation that fossil fuels are getting subsidized. And I've been saying for years, somebody tell me what this subsidy is. If you can show me where the oil industry is being subsidized somehow, I'll sign your petition to stop it, but nobody can tell me what it is. And she's been gracious enough to come back from the Associated Petroleum Industries of Pennsylvania, part of a nationwide organization as well, and address that topic. And I believe there aren't any subsidies. There's just people who don't understand taxes. how taxes work for everybody. However, I also invited everybody knows, I think by now, that about almost 300 girls have been kidnapped in Nigeria, a big, at least used to be Christian nation now, and involved very much conflict to try to civil war between Muslims and Christians. And so I made an invitation to the National Organization for Women.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know if now would like to come on and talk about this terrible treatment of girls by a Muslim organization, Boko Haram, is that it? And what they think should be done about it. The White House is making noises that they're going to do something about it. They've sent some people over there, but I don't know if they've got much of a plan to really do something effective. But they are at least showing some response. So I got no response, of course, from the National Organization for Women.
Surprise,
so
surprise.
You will not have now talking about this terrible abuse of girls, systematic slavery. It's selling them off as wives by force, and you would think that would be kind of what now was created to exist, to address. But are you surprised?
Not at all. Not at all. Good for you for trying.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd at least make them think about it, but I don't know. I don't know if they think that very long. Now, the other thing that's big in the news, there's so much going on, is, of course, global warming. And I am very concerned about this because I think we have an opportunity and a danger. I've said it before, this is like the giant is tottering on one leg, and if we are effective, we can knock that giant over in a really dramatic way and ruin the reputation of left-wing manipulation of society, maybe for a generation or two. So I think it's a big deal. It's an important thing. But I thought in the few moments we have before the first break, we probably should talk to the Martians in our audience. If anyone knows any Martians, they should probably try to get them on here.
John, I wish the signal of the CCRS studios reached all the way to Mars. However, I doubt it. You think there's some here on Earth?
I think it may depend on the what kind of antenna they have or something like that. But you may recall that, of course, there's global warming on Mars. You remember hearing about that?
Yes.
That, of course, now I think that stopped at the same time that it stopped here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The effects in the other planets stopped too, and there's been some conversation. We got a little bit of that, on C-SPAN this morning. I was cheering for one caller, but this is easy to see because they can measure the ice caps on Mars year over year. Now a year is 2 years for a Martian year, and the ice caps are carbon dioxide as freezing out as well as ice. But they've noticed for, I think, about 15, 20 years ago, then ending about 5, maybe more than 8 years ago, there was a trend that it was warming on Mars about the same time that it was supposedly warming here, and then it stopped. So it stopped here, it stopped there, and but I think apparently we need to do something about this solar system-wide warming, that's happening.
I've got the solution, John.
Mm-hmm.
I think liberals should just stop breathing.
Well, if they really,
yeah, there you go.
If they really believe in what they're, that would be a courage of their conviction, I guess.
Just stop breathing. They can, take in air, but just don't exhale. Inhale, but don't exhale.
And maybe they should. Not have children, you think, maybe?
Oh, well, probably not. I mean, they think the world's a terrible place anyway. John, as far as these liberals and where the world is going and things like that, one thing that I wanted to say is that
people, but they don't think it's worth living.
No, but, they're so altruistic, especially with the Muslims and all these liberal ideas, and I wonder how they are going to feel if this would ever become a totally Islamic nation, okay? And if the Muslims ever get control and power in the nation's capital. You can guarantee that's what is going to happen. Because there won't be any women's rights. There won't be any gay rights. You know, all the principles and ideas that these idiot liberals had fought for so long to be oh so fair and oh we got to love the Muslims. Boy, prize.
Yeah, and you've seen probably the protests around the Beverly Hotel, because it's owned by a prince from Brunei, I believe it is, Sultan of Brunei. It is odd. Some people are saying that it's odd that they're slowly waking up to this contradiction. That they want to attack Christianity, they want to protect Islam, and yet Islam is against many of their core beliefs. And
it is.
This is sort of
birth control out the window with the Muslims.
Good point.
They have very large families. Women's rights, well, we're going to be talking about that today, aren't we? Gay rights, forget that one. Oh, they're going to be in for a rude awakening.
And, you know, it's not that hard to figure it out. But, see, that's what's interesting is what is it about liberals that, you know, it doesn't take much to...
I don't know, Johnny, because I can't figure them out. I think I've stopped trying. Really, I've stopped trying to figure out liberals. You know, they are what they are.
That's just amazing.
Idiots that they are what they are. What was that? Well, that was a nice sound. Oh, hey, John, guess what? It's time for a break.
All
right, we're going to go to that break, and after the break, we'll talk about, well, we do talk about our guest, but you're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, and if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show, log on to cprworldwidemedia.com. You can also hear a repeat broadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And you can always hear the Conservative Commandos radio show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Don't go away, John and I will be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader, and your co-host for today, John Mosley. And we're talking, let's get back to the news. It's kind of one of those days where I think we have a bunch of short, interesting bullet point issues, and then I might get back to some global warming nonsense. One thing is I've got an article up at barbwire.com. We had Matt Barber on not long ago. Pretty radical stuff. GOP, stop listening to advice from Democrats. Do we even have to say it? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but I go into some detail about how Republicans should stop listening to their enemies for advice on how to win elections.
You know, John, you're so right, and it cracks me up when the Democrats give this advice to Republicans. You see this all the time. Well, I'm telling you what the Republicans should do, and they don't give a crap what the Republicans do. The only thing they want Republicans to do is fail, and they're finding ways to do that on their own. But it cracks me up. It really cracks me up. And then the advice that they give is worthless, garbage.
And it cracks you and me up. I don't understand everybody else. You know, why aren't everybody else like laughing at the television?
Yeah, the people that should be laughing at it are the Karl Roves and the John Boehners of the world, but they seem to be the ones that are taking the advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, speaking of which, a little bit of news in North Carolina. The establishment-backed candidate for U.S. Senate, who wasn't that bad, I don't think, it wasn't that motivating. He got 45.5%. He needed 40% to win the to avoid a runoff in the nomination. But there were 7 candidates. So one idea to the Tea Party and conservatives: don't run 6 different candidates against the establishment guy. If you really want to defeat him. But anyway, that's big.
No, that makes a heck of a lot of sense, John. It really does. Say, John, I love the Tea Party philosophy. I love the Tea Party people. But the problem in my opinion, with the Tea Party is they're so unorganized. It's like trying to herd cats, okay? I think they got great ideas. They're great people, but they all want to be chief. They all want to and that's why there's so many Tea Parties. I wish I owned the name Tea Party. I really do. I'd make an awful lot of money. But there's so many Tea Parties because all these Tea Party people want to be the boss.
Yeah.
They want to have their own ideas. They want to run their own candidates. So you get a situation like you're describing and down in Carolina where you've got the incumbent running, and then
he's the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the state, and against Hagan, Kay Hagan, who is very, very vulnerable. Go ahead.
I was just saying that that's, in my opinion, the problem with the Tea Parties. There's no central organization.
Yeah, we don't have the depth of, again, I go back to training and stuff, but there's this attitude, there isn't time because things are happening so fast. But on the other hand, we're kind of disorganized and don't really have the depth of understanding how to run elections. It's
like having a football team with 7 quarterbacks. Who's going to run the play, That's an analogy I use. I don't know if that's a very good analogy, but it's my gosh, it's like dividing your army, going into battle and dividing your army 7 ways.
Right. Now, the other thing is that, and I hesitate to say this too much but the fact is that in 2010, in some of these primaries, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham were leading the charge. I listened yesterday during the primaries, didn't hear Rush Limbaugh say one word about the primary going on that day. Maybe I missed it, but it wasn't like 2010 in Delaware. It was wall to wall for 3 hours. So I don't understand what's going on, but I think there's this attitude of, we've done some pruning, but this is not a pruning year. We really, really, really want to win.
I just come up with an idea, John. Maybe the Tea Parties ought to have a primary on their own prior to the primary. In other words, the primary, okay? That they, through their primary, the Tea Party primary, one gal to go against the horrible rhino incumbent they want to replace.
Interesting. Yeah, that's not actually totally impossible, totally unworkable. Sort of a...
But again, that would be like trying to hurt cats, so it was a stupid idea.
No, it actually would be a good idea. It's just nobody will do it. That's interesting. Because like Delaware has a nominating convention or an endorsing convention that's different from the actual primary. But the problem is everybody, the Tea Party is a lot of independents, and we're not going to go along with the crowd. We're not going to be pushed around, and we're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. And it just maybe goes a little bit too far that, we can't. So I don't know.
Another thing you find with these candidates, John, the majority of them, they're so underfunded. They're so unorganized. They don't know how to run a campaign. A lot of them think that their enthusiasm will rally people behind them. And I don't know that's true. I think that there has to be money, there has to be organization, there has to be a solid message, it has to be an appealing person. There's just so many little elements that go into it. Little, but they're huge. They're huge.
It doesn't seem like those things should matter in terms of the big decisions.
But it does.
Of substance. But yeah, it does. And
name
that's,
recognition
I think
is
on the
huge.
right, we don't want to believe that. We believe that merit, of our idea should matter, and we just don't want to accept.
And my response to that is 2 words: Barack Obama.
Yeah.
He had a man without substance at all.
Yeah.
A man without substance, just a nice smile, and what did Joe Biden call him? A nice, clean, articulate guy. Isn't that what Joe Biden called him?
I can't keep track of Joe Biden. I don't know, but yeah, I know what you mean. But the part of the thing is that candidates need to start like 2-3 years before they do, and that kind of goes against the idea that all I should have to do is get out and talk about ideas, and people will be persuaded, and the idea that the world's going to end tomorrow if I don't do something right now, which is partly true, to some. But being underfunded can be solved, but it can't be solved quickly, and it can't be solved at the last minute.
No, I've said here many times that I think that's where the liberals are very good at funding their candidates. They're working for their candidates.
And that's why the establishment beats the conservative wing, too, is because, for example, the guy who ran...
John, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we're up against our next break. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having fun on 3 hours sleep. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, like we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m., and on our internet broadcast partners, CPR Worldwide Media, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And also, you can listen to our show anytime or day or night by calling 832-999-1199. Hey, and don't forget, check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. 2 different sites, different information on each one. Be right back.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. JD is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. on WNJC 1360 with your host every day, Rick Trader, and your co-host today on Wednesdays, Jonathan Mosley. And we're honored to have our next guest. I hope I can pronounce it correctly, but Zainab Khan is one of the participants in the Honors Diaries project. She's a licensed clinical therapist and also an activist for global women's rights. She advocates for global education and for world leaders to fulfill their commitments toward the Millennium Development Goals for universal primary education and promoting gender equality. Zainab has done therapy with survivors of domestic violence, primarily within the South Asian community. She is currently involved in nonprofit management. She is a talented artist and a feature in numerous exhibitions globally, primarily focusing on women's rights. We're very honored to have you today to talk about the Honor Diaries today. Welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to ask, I did get email to try to get your name pronounced correctly, and I didn't quite understand the response. Can you correct me if I got it wrong?
Sure, no, it's Zainab.
Zainab. Yeah, that didn't quite correspond to the email. It's a little hard to explain. Anyway,
it's a difficult.
Well, it's hard to write to explain how to pronounce something. That's an important skill that we don't kind of neglect. But
sure.
This is a very important topic, and we're very, very honored to have somebody on talking about the Honor Diaries. But it's also a delicate and difficult subject. So I want to make sure that we get through what's going on with the movie, how people can get involved, and those sorts of things. But then I also want to just get out of the way and let you share your thoughts and your story. I don't know if you want to start with the movie project and what's happening right now.
No, absolutely. So Honor Diaries features 9 women, myself included, and we participated in a 2-day salon discussing all sorts of topics and issues regarding, gender disparity, gender inequality, and the lowest common denominator that all of us had, and we're all coming from different backgrounds, different generations, different, places throughout the world. And it's our advocacy engaged primarily regarding equality in Muslim-majority societies. And all of the women that have participated in this film have witnessed, firsthand the hardships women endured, especially in honor-based societies where violence is inflicted upon a woman due to, a code of honor.
Well, it's kind of hard for, I think, many of us to believe that this is still that this is part of the modern world, and I think maybe that's because we're not really paying attention to it. But this movie has gotten some controversy and some news coverage. But tell people how they can be involved themselves and what options there are for participating or contacting you on this.
Absolutely. The best way to get involved is actually to visit the website, which is honordiaries.com. And you can host a screening. You can purchase the DVD. You can actually help violence against women by sending a letter to Congress in support of the International Violence Against Women Act, which is also on the site. Now, in addition to this is not just a film. It's a movement, and it's created, the film itself has opened up so many doors for women to, share their experiences and their stories and to get involved because no prior platform existed before this film. So, breaking the silence, of course, will always, result in some sort of a controversy, but the end goal and the end result is far greater than staying silent.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, is it your feeling as we look at this that sunshine will make a difference in terms of these things?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of beating around the bush. And at the same time, I can understand, because it is such a sensitive topic, or it's such a sensitive issue that most people feel that it becomes like it's an us versus them kind of a cause. And we have to bring it back to this is a universal human rights issue. When you have 50% of your population that isn't given equal rights or equal, opportunity for economic or for educational or for actively participating in a society, then you have a major problem here.
Well, my thinking is that in American society, there's some feeling that this is a problem we've solved. I know that's probably naive and superficial, but that at least there's a consensus, I think, generally speaking, within much of the United States of America that it shouldn't happen. Maybe I'm being naive about that. But then there are other places where there's a blind spot. And I think, I understand, I think that you're saying not allowing a blind spot where we're not allowed to talk about this is important to bring that sunshine and that change. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think also a lot of times what happens is that the issue gets deflected. There's very counterproductive arguments about, what the source of whether or not there's, to be honest, there's a lot of denial too. There's a lot of denial in the fact that, yes, in the film we talked about honor-based violence on a global scale, but then also within, the U.S., there's been an increasing rise in a lot of honor-based violence, such as FGM, forced marriages, and this needs to stop.
What did you say?
People are in a denial that it exists because, it's too, we don't want to ruffle any feathers, or we don't want to offend anybody, or we don't want to make it, a cultural issue or a religious issue. But the bottom line is that culture or religion is no excuse for abuse.
Well, much of what you're talking about, and I don't want to get too far without talking about getting a definition of honor here. We will be coming up to about a 2-minute break at some point. But why don't you tell us? Do you disagree with that?
Sure. So I'll tell you, honor-based violence is a phenomenon where a person, which is most often a woman, is subjected to violence by her collective family or community in order to restore honor, which is presumed to have been lost by her behavior. And the potential sites of conflict are always between, the woman and the family, and they may include her choice of sexual or marital partner, her education and employment, dress, behavior and contact with the opposite sex, choosing a partner that is outside of their religion, and then also a general conformity to the family and community's culture and expectations. Now, the wrongs of, family and society predominate over the individual, so therefore any individualistic choice the woman makes which challenges the collective identity and aims of the family or the society are considered a violation of that honor.
But there's also, of course, in that culture concept, a different view of the genders in that, an imbalance. We have about 1 minute here.
There's, in a lot of these societies that we're talking about, there's a complete, it's misogyny. It's institutionalized misogyny that is occurring, where the role of a woman is predefined, and if she breaks those rules or those codes, or it's codified, then she's shamed, guilted, or there's repercussions for her actions. There's consequences.
Well, we probably have about 30 seconds before the break, but I want to ask either now or after the break, is it true that this is mostly in the Muslim communities at the present time, and do you think it has to do with Muslim as a religion or just cultural holdovers? And I'll have to get your answer after a 2-minute break, if you can hold on.
Sure.
Okay, we are going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, log on to patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast, log on to cprworldwidemedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Call using your cell phone at no extra cost. Use your mobile minutes. Check out our websites, conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. Don't go away. John and I will be right back with our guest.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay,
is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. This is John Mosley, your co-host today on Wednesday. And we're here with Rick Trader, your co-host every weekday, your main host every weekday. And our guest, Zainab Khan from the movie Honor Diaries. And I interrupted a bit on the question. We wanted to jump in there.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Did you want to go ahead with the? And I was saying,
yeah.
Do you think that it is mainly these at this point in history a Muslim issue, and do you consider it religious or more cultural?
Well, this is, like I said, this is a very complex issue. And, to be clear, the abuse on women is not sanctioned by any particular religion. And this is a point that's clearly established in Honor Diaries. But the film, rather we talk about these widespread practices which are mistakenly labeled as culture or mistakenly, carried out in the name of religion. And it occurs throughout the world. And this is why the Honor Diaries tagline is that culture is no excuse for abuse. You have to keep in mind that when women's rights are violated in this society, nobody wins.
Right. I mean, the reason why I think this is so important is that viewing it as something you can't criticize about a religion gives it that blind spot, gives it that protection to allow it to continue. Instead of exposing it and not tolerating it as it should be. I tell a quick story. I used to be friends with Christine O'Donnell, who went on a journalist trip to Jordan and saw how a young girl was in the pool. I think it was a natural kind of grotto pool, and got close to the foreigners. And her father was sort of freaking out because, and it was later explained to her that if she got as a teenage girl with her, in a bathing suit too close to unknown men, the father might have to do something terrible to deal with the honor, to vindicate the honor of that transgression.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't surprise me. I mean globally, I've seen really to us here, it's almost very bizarre. And we also have to keep in mind it's not like a lot of these people are uneducation has a lot to do with it. Yes, poverty has a lot to do with it. But there's also like a very deeply rooted, belief system that's been there, for generations, for centuries. And breaking or shifting that paradigm takes, it doesn't happen overnight. And which is why this film is so important, because you do have women that are connected to their faith, and there has to be some sort of a middle ground where you're able to, criticize and point out the very, very obvious wrong without being condemned for it.
Right. Well, there are times when in Christian history when things were not as they are today, and I think not, got off track in those ways. That's important. I know it's a very delicate topic.
And because there's been a reformation, right? So
right, exactly.
There's been a reformation in that society, and here, every 2 steps that we take forwards, then there's a massive step that gets backwards. Like the perfect examples of countries are, Iran and Afghanistan, where women's rights were, 50, 60 years ago, you wouldn't even recognize photos of women in that country then and now.
Christianity is, I guess, about 700 years older in terms of the Reformation and things that they've gone through, and it hasn't been easy to try to reconcile all those things and understand all the balance on some things. But it's a delicate issue. Could you give us some examples of what is at stake and what happens with women under these conditions?
Absolutely. The perfect example right now I think that I can think of is, something like the Joffrey Status Law, which is back on the table in Iraq. Now, Iraq is a very, of all the countries in the Middle East, there was a legal age of 18 to get married, very, progressive for women's rights. And now all of a sudden you have this Joffrey Status Law, which is, based on the concept of zaman, which is time, and makan, which is place. And it's a basic idea that thousands of years ago, depending on, Muslims' particular time and place or circumstance, the law would bend and conform to suit them. Now, this law, and this is why jaws always drop, like, how does something like this get back on the table? Well, with this law, in the name of these irrational laws, would give girls to be deemed eligible for marriage at the age of 9, consent, either fathers or grandfathers. Women are vulnerable to heightened violence because the elimination of consent for sex within the marriage is gone. And not only that, but it sanctions pathways of brutal punishment, including stoning, mutilation, unlawful imprisonment. So then when you think about Reformation, then you think, why does something like this come back? How does it even come back on the table? Are we being progressive? Are we reforming? And I think that you have to be able to look at this in a very objective stance without being defensive, without being actually understand that these things need to stop.
Yeah, I suspect from my experience in some intense Christian groups that it comes back on the table when people think things aren't happening the way we want them to happen. Maybe God's not happy. Maybe we need to go back to something that maybe God's angry at us because we have abandoned some of these old ways. Perhaps is some of the thinking, but explain it again. I want to ask about people would think, well, parental consent should take care of that, right? I mean, if the parents are consenting, well, they'll take care of them. But explain, I guess, the role then of the poverty and some of the power relationships that happen in those societies.
Yeah, I mean, poverty is debilitating, right? But then you also have to look at it too. It's very cyclical and interdependent on a lot of different factors. So when you have poverty, you also have illiteracy, you have lack of education, and then you have people that, are very easily influenced by power or control or what they're told. And at the same time, I will say that there's a lot of societies and people that live there that do not want to live under these laws. They disagree with them, but they don't have a choice. So it's not as if, the misunderstanding is that, yes, there are people that do adhere by these, norms, and there are people that just feel like they don't even have a choice.
Right. Now,
So I think educating and even opening this platform of dialogue is so important, because if you can't have a dialogue like this, then we're not going to be able to get, any sort of progressive social change in any way.
And for example, that father who maybe wants to say no, may not have the ammunition or the thoughts or whatever. You want to talk about the movie? How does the movie go through some of these things?
The film, begins by addressing. It begins by addressing what honor is, how in Western societies, honor is deemed as something prestigious and courageous, and and unfortunately, what has happened is that the concept and the notion of honor has been so misconstrued and has been applied to harm and violate women, because they are perpetually the ones that are bringing honor or bring dishonor to a family based on their behaviors. And the film goes through, personal experiences of some of the women, as well as some of the work that they have done, and like I said, there's different generations, different cultures, different nationalities, and I think it's fascinating because everybody has a story to tell, and there's, it's alarming. I can personally say, even after the screenings, I've attended nationwide screenings, I always get at least one or two people come up to me and say, you know what, I was a survivor of this, or this happened to my family member. And which is why I think it's so important that this film needs to be seen, and we need to open it, because it's not just a film, it's a movement. It's allowing other people to step up and share their stories and take a step and say, you know what, I believe this is wrong and it needs to stop.
And you're not speaking as academics, but many people are speaking from experience of what you observe.
Yes.
Now, I don't know that anyone involved here necessarily has been involved in this, and it is a delicate topic. I want to be a bit careful, but I guess one example that I thought is of this honor concept is the idea that that has been outrageous in the news sometimes, is that if a woman gets assaulted, raped, that she's blamed because she has somehow stained she's ruined, or whatever the concept might be.
Yeah. The families believe that they have to preserve the girl's honor, and that, and that's the whole, that goes into the whole, opens a whole new dialogue of rape culture and how it's, and how people are, turning the tables and blaming a victim. And restoring that honor means killing the girl because she was raped, or essentially she's written off to be, in a lot of these societies also, rape becomes, the fact that a victim was raped, it becomes public knowledge, and then she becomes an easy target. And then that rape is, accepted. And that happens not just with, girls and women, but also with, men. There's accounts of that as well. And this happens in, very patriarchal communities at a lot of times, where male status and family statuses are prioritized above all else.
Okay, we probably have about 40 seconds left that I want to make sure you tell people again the website, options for people to get in, to participate in this.
Sure. You can, the website is honordiaries.com, and you can host a screening, you can join the movement, you can sign a letter to Congress to help pass the IVAWA Act. You can, download the resources that are available. You can like us on Facebook. There's the Arabic page of Honor Diaries, which has over, I think, 80,000 likes already. And share your story and get involved.
HonorDiaries.com, that's great. And it is a great website, and giving various choices very clearly of what people can do. So I want to encourage people to take a look at that, because we like to do more than just listen sometimes here on the Conservative Commanders Radio Show. Not sure the exact time, but I'm fearful that we're about out of time, Rick Trader.
Yes, we are. And I want to thank you and your guest, John Mosley. And we are going to take a little break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commanders Radio Show, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia. The way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. East Coast time, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, patriotsride.org, and vigilantlibertyradio.us. Please don't go away. Just on the other side of this break, John and I are going to be speaking with J. Christian Adams. Be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. JD is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader, and I am John Mosley, your co-host for today on Wednesdays. We're going to welcome our next guest, J. Christian Adams, who is the PJ Media's legal editor and a prolific writer and expert guest on radio and TV. J. Christian Adams is an election lawyer who served in the voting rights section at the U.S. Department of Justice. As a whistleblower, he helped expose the Department of Justice's failure to prosecute the radical New Black Panthers group in a sort of outrageous incident that happened there. He co-authored PJ Media's Single One series that revealed the politicized hiring practices of the Obama Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. He has been a columnist at PJ Media since November 2011, and he runs the valuable website Election Law Center. Our biggest problem is knowing which topic to ask him about first, but welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, J. Christian Adams.
Thanks for having me.
You go by Christian?
I do.
All right, I understand you got places to go and people to see, so let's jump right in. You're going to help us understand whether voter fraud is a solution in search of a problem or if it's real. You're doing a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the folks who want to continue to allow criminality in American elections really should be ashamed of themselves, and they'll say things like voter fraud's not real, but it is. I mean, every single day it seems I'm posting reports of convictions or arrests or charges involving voter fraud, and it's not an imaginary thing. What's really scary about it is there's people who don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah, I have seen this a great deal, we're all seeing it, but I saw it for quite a long time. People really insist that it doesn't exist, and therefore photo IDs are just Republicans being racist.
Yeah, I mean, that's the typical narrative of the folks who are opposed to voter ID.
It seems pretty obvious. I've mentioned here before that we have friends of the family in Boca Raton, Florida, who went to vote in the 2000 election and were told, you can't vote, you already voted, by absentee ballot. Someone stole their absentee ballot and stole their vote. They weren't allowed to vote. So I know it's real, but I'm astonished that it is even a debate. But it is a very big debate. I'm not sure we're quite winning the argument yet in terms of the overall momentum.
Well, I'm not astonished that it's at all a debate. I'll tell you why. It's very simple to understand. When you hear somebody oppose voter ID, when you hear a politician or someone like Al Sharpton talk about voter ID, the reason they're saying what they're saying is very simple to understand. They are trying to scare people. It is part of a motivation tactic. When Sharpton says things like, this is an effort to disenfranchise people, to return to Jim Crow, it has one and only one purpose, and that is to frighten, and therefore to get people to go to the polls. That's the only reason people oppose voter ID, is to scare a demographic into voting.
So you think there's a lot of get out the vote in this topic?
Totally. There's nothing else. It's not a real objection. It's not a credible complaint. It is simply designed to scare people to go get out the vote.
So you said, it sounds like, are you compiling some of this? You said you're posting a lot of these examples, and perhaps it would be good to have all that in one place. Is that something you're doing?
Well, that's what I do at election law centers. I keep track of every single story about voter fraud. I think I capture on a daily basis. You know, a lot of academics, these pinheads like to say things like, well, there's never been a credible study, a peer-reviewed study about how much voter fraud there is. Well, that's because they don't want to do it. I mean, the reason there isn't a study is because no academic has ever set out to catalog it. It's because anytime you create catalog, the left-wing academics don't want to do that because it justifies election integrity measures like voter ID.
Well, so if anyone's out there frustrated and debating with people, going to Election Law Center sounds like a good thing to do to find some ammunition. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of information out there. It's just yours for the picking if you point and click and read. The idea that there's no voter fraud is an utter lie.
It strikes me, though, that there wouldn't be a lot of voter fraud if anybody ever prosecuted just a little bit of it. What do you think?
Well, I disagree with that. I think you ascribe too much rationality to the criminal. The criminal is not a rational thinker. The criminal does not calculate the odds of capture. They're just criminals. They behave in a criminal fashion. So, I don't think it would make too much difference.
Okay, well, there are examples that got a little bit of blip. You remember Congressman Moran's son. Do you know what ever happened to that? Did anything ever happen to that?
Yeah, well, he got fired from the Obama or the Virginia Democratic Party campaign. He really embarrassed himself. He then cracked his girlfriend's skull. He assaulted a woman because for who knows why, and I'm sure right now he's back in business working for either a politician or Lord knows a government agency.
Oh my God! Yeah, he apparently got James O'Keefe. They caught him on video, but that is true. Sometimes these people get fired, quote unquote, but then they're still doing the same thing under some kind of consulting arrangement.
Yeah.
So, but it seems to me that the failure of the Justice Department and other prosecutors to act is a big factor here. Do you think so?
No, of course it is. I mean, look, you have the Justice Department refusing to enforce a part of the motor voter law that requires states to clean up their voter rolls. How do I know that they're not enforcing it? Because I worked there when the policy was announced, that they're not going to do anything about it. That's why I've had to go to court for private litigants around the country to force counties and states to clean up their voter rolls. So it's, the Justice Department has shut down enforcement of the law. They just aren't going to do it, and nobody can do anything about it. That's just what happens when you win elections. You get to pick and choose which laws you're going to enforce if you're a lawless official.
To make sure people understand what it means to clean up, because that's controversial too, to clean up the voter rolls. What is that? What should that mean?
Well, it means you carefully review the voter rolls for people who have moved away and died and gone to prison, and you take them off the rolls. But a lot of states aren't doing it. I've got a case in Texas where 134% of voting age population was registered to vote. So, some people don't believe in clean elections and some people do, and that's just how it goes.
I can understand. We've only got a couple of minutes, but Alan West has been a favorite of this show for a while, and I heard some similar things about some of his precincts. Did you follow there about sometimes there more than 100% of the people voted in some of the precincts? Does that sound...
Well, that didn't happen in St. Lucie County. That's an urban myth. What happened in St. Lucie County that created that number is, it's a shame you even asked me because it's a really technical, boring answer to a question, but I'll give you the answer. The ballot had two parts, Part A and Part B, and when you run the two parts through the machine, it registers as a unit, just like an odometer tripping, showing that a unit of ballot went through the machine. And, there's a lot of, ballot questions, like constitutional amendment questions, so the ballot was multiple pages. And the urban myth was created by people who didn't understand that each time one of those pieces of paper got scanned, it registered a unit of ballot that was in greater excess of the number of people in the precinct, but in reality, there was no problem there. And I wish I could snap my fingers and make people never talk about that issue again.
Okay, well, it's good to be educated about that. Do you have, now, recently there was a North Carolina study, and people, I guess we only have about 1 minute left if we let you go when you need to go, but that showed people registered in 2 states, and I've heard people complain, well, that doesn't mean they actually voted in both states. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, the response you get from the people that you just cited, well, that doesn't necessarily mean, well, you know what? It also means that they could, and they do. People who say things like that are more interested, it seems, in sticking their head in the sand like an ostrich than they are in trying to figure out whether or not people did, in fact, vote in 2 states. And in fact, they have. Wendy Rosen was a candidate for Congress in Maryland. She also happened to be voting, registered to vote, and voting in Florida in an election, which is a federal felony. There are hundreds of people, who are registered and voting in the same election in more than 1 state. That's a federal felony. There are cases, New York, Florida, Ohio, South Carolina. It's everywhere. It's pervasive. It's widespread. And it is absolutely not getting the attention it deserves.
Well, that's lack of rationality when you're running for Congress and under scrutiny. That is a criminal who's not rational. But we must be running out of time here. Give out your website, and you seem to be an editor, or at least a columnist everywhere, so people can follow J. Christian Adams.
Well, I'm an editor of PJ Media. That's where you'll find most of my heavy lifting. I cover very niche election issues at electionlawcenter.com.
Electionlawcenter.com, and PJ Media at the website?
Yep, PJ Media.
Never understood the pajama thing, but it's a very popular.
Well, they changed it. That's why it's now PJ Media.
I see. That's great. ElectionLawCenter.com. A lot of great information. And Rick Trader, we must be out of time.
Yes, we are. And thanks, Christian, for joining us today on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We are going to take a break. And you're listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. Yes, I am actually here today, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. As a reminder, you can hear our show Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. East Coast time and around the world on the internet. Our internet broadcast partners are CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And the exciting news is you can hear us anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. No extra charge for that call. So if you can have a cell phone, use those mobile minutes. We'll be right back.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, East Coast time, log on to patriotsride.org, patriotsride.org. And for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. this evening, when we end our live broadcast, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And you could also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can hear us anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. So, John, you've been calling in as you've been exercising on days they're doing your walk or your power walk.
Absolutely, you're no longer stuck to the internet or the house or the computer. You can get on the phone and go out. Some people may be on their speakerphone at work or while they're doing something. They can put it on if they have bad. Sometimes I've been in office buildings where you're in the same city, but you can't get a good reception because it's a still building. I think people, but yeah, I want to start the Conservative Commandos Exercise Club and get out there and walk and listen to Michelle and let's move.
Yeah.
But anyway, you've got something that'll keep you moving.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it, there's no extra charge for the calls. There's no added commercials thrown in. It's a heck of a service provided to our show by Audio Now.
Unbelievable. It's too good to be true.
Too good to be true, but it's not. So, John, there's some news coming out of Washington, out of the House of Representatives.
Well, we don't have it. We're watching for any moment now. Lois Lerner supposedly will be voted on. I assume that the Republican majority will find her in contempt. I cannot imagine it won't happen. But
so what would that mean, John?
Okay, well, the committee found her in contempt of Congress. And the entire House is about to vote. They're preparing. We're waiting for them to actually do it. And that is, it means some interesting things, actually, because there is a lot of authority, and liberals have argued, and there's a lot of discussion, that Congress has the inherent authority to act on its own. You asked this question a while ago, and I looked it up, that they actually could arrest Eric Holder or Lois Lerner and compel them to comply. But there's also a statute that makes it a crime on the books. And as the criminal matter, it then goes to Eric Holder to enforce, to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia to actually prosecute her. So she should be prosecuted. And actually, the statute is written in such a way that there's no discretion. Heard about prosecutorial discretion, and Obama is driving.
Now, is a trial, John? Is it like impeaching a president? Would the trial be held in the Senate?
No, it would be in an actual court. In a
criminal court.
Yeah. Now, again, the House has. There has been some examples where the House has used the Congress. Either chamber alone has actually directly used the power to go out and arrest somebody, but that inherent power is not commonly used, and it perhaps takes some guts that maybe these people don't have.
Well, forget that. If it requires guts coming from the Republican side of the House of Representatives.
But if they proceed under the statute, it would be, I guess, pretty analogous to an indictment. That basically, when the Congress votes today, and I presume that they'll hold her in contempt, it's equivalent, I'm saying, to an indictment. In which case, the prosecutor, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, is then compelled and does not have the normal discretion not to prosecute the Lois Lerner for contempt, which is a crime for refusing to testify and refusing to cooperate. Now, there's been some theory. The idea is she asserted her Fifth Amendment rights not to testify against herself, but the idea is that she waived that. And there's been some discussion about the opening statement she made, which I think is a strong argument. Cleta Mitchell's out with a Newsmax article recently that also mentions how it includes the fact that she talked outside of the congressional setting. She talked to investigators as well. I add something that I think people are ignoring, which is that she set up the question at a bar association meeting. She said she told somebody, "Please ask me about this." The whole thing came to light when she volunteered it, and even though that wasn't a government setting, I think that when she volunteered this whole thing, I think that, also functions to waive her Fifth Amendment rights because she's volunteered to talk about it in public. So that will be a legal challenge, whether or not she actually can hide behind her Fifth Amendment rights or not.
Well, I caution our side about getting very excited about this, John, because what you're describing, as you're describing it, I can see this going to higher courts like the Supreme Court, okay? And we've got Barack Obama and his gang in the White House for another 2.5+ years. 2 years, 7 months. And rather than getting all hyped up on the idea of Lois Lerner getting indicted, going to trial, possibly going to jail, Eric Holder, same thing, Barack Obama, same thing, forget it. Just work on 2014 elections and 2016 elections. That's my opinion. Hey, it's interesting news. It's interesting news. But I don't want our side to sit back and wait for indictments, impeachments, trials, appeals. Let's not get wrapped up in that. Let's go to work and support candidates to go to Washington to do the job we hire them to do, elect them to do.
Well, maybe what I'd say is, like you say, don't sit back and wait for somebody to do it for you. That's for sure. But I think it's an argument to use in the 24 elections and other elections to show what's wrong with Washington, what needs to change. But yeah, just sitting back and hoping that the answers are going to fall into your lap is always a problem. And we have.
Well, what I think you're right. What we can do, John, is we can use these things as tools to point out why their side's so wrong, why their side's so bad. Yeah, but we can't. You're right. Just thinking that they're all going to get indicted and I don't have to do anything. I can go back to watching reruns of Laverne and Shirley and eating potato chips. That is that is a prescription to lose our country. Yeah, this is a debate I've been having with some of my friends on Facebook. They want to continue to bash Barack Obama, and as much as I think he should be bashed, that's not where we should be spending our ammunition. Our ammunition should be spent on stopping somebody like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that could be.
Preventing her from getting any potential nomination.
Yeah, and that is a for Hillary Clinton to win, on the one hand, on the rights it should be impossible, but based upon political skills, it'll be like she's stealing candy from a baby.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Republican Party.
Well, just as I've said before, Jeb Bush, the mainstream Republican Party is pushing Jeb Bush. Haven't we had enough Bushes, Clintons, and Obamas in the White House?
Yes.
It's been proven that this hasn't worked, okay?
This is the Bob Dole, the president.
Bob Dole, John McCain, Mitt Romney, all these moderate, tired, last-time loser Republicans. We don't need... Hey, John, we got to go to a break. It's that time again. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philly, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Don't go away. John and I will be right back with our next guest.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Bonnier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And program note, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast this afternoon, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, and you could hear another rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And John Mosley, we do have our next guest with us, and the honor of that introduction is yours.
That's great. Stephanie Caterino Wisman is the Executive Director of the Associated Petroleum Industries of Pennsylvania. Prior to joining API-PA in 2011, Stephanie Wisman was the Director of Government Affairs for the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the largest broad-based business advocacy association in Pennsylvania. She's also served as manager for government affairs for Embark, a global integrated communications provider. Wisman is a graduate of Penn State University and resides in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Of course, we're broadcasting here near Philadelphia on WNJC. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Stephanie Wisman.
Good afternoon, John. Good to be here.
It's good to have you back. Now we don't. I've been trying to get a question answered for a while. I'm so glad that when we had you on a few weeks ago, we were able to get you back on here again. And this is timely and coming up even this morning on C-SPAN, which is watching C-SPAN tends to get me angry. There's been a great deal of talk about whether the oil industries and fossil fuel industries are subsidized and have tax credits or tax benefits, and I think that is part of an effort really to delegitimize and discredit traditional energy sources, and so I think it matters. And I've been trying to find out somebody brave enough to wade into this topic, and you were gracious enough to come back and talk to us about it. And I understand the American Petroleum Institute, I guess, has a flyer up on the talking about it, and I wonder if you could help us with this.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, first of all, the fact that the oil and natural gas industry is either subsidized or is not paying their fair share in taxes is indeed a myth. Not true. I mean, for some reason, the media has caught on to this for, it seems like forever, always pointing the finger that we're not paying the taxes that we should be. You know, contrary to what some in politics do say and what folks in the media have said, the oil and natural gas industry, we currently do not enjoy any unique tax credits or deductions. It's simply a myth, and I'm not quite sure who started it way back when, but we absolutely do pay our fair share and then some.
You know, I suspect the tax code being so complicated that people either out of ignorance or malevolence, picked up the special provisions that do apply to the extractive industries and went on a tear from there. And I'll say I got a degree in finance and an extra year in accounting, and I actually worked as a bookkeeper for a daycare center while I was in college. And it just seems obvious to me that everybody in America who starts a business has a right to deduct their expenses from their income. And you pay taxes on net profit, not on your, I mean, is this what we're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly what you're talking about, being taxed only on net income.
And yet somehow, because I've challenged people. I said, I'll sign your petition if you can show me what you're talking about, but they never come up with specifics. And that's part of what I think is so important here, is that there's this tremendous political push, but nobody ever specifies what it is. And I wondered if there's no there. So what are your responses to some of the specific things? There's provisions about how you about drilling costs and about how you deduct the depletion allowances from wells and all that. Why don't you give us some sense of what, without getting too deep in the weeds?
Yes, I'll try not to do that, but what you're alluding to there is something called percentage depletion, and that is a deduction that is a cost recovery method that allows taxpayers to recover their lease investment in a mineral interest, through a percentage of gross income from a well. And this is not unique to oil and gas. This is available to all extractive industries, gold, coal, iron, clay, etc., and is no way unique to the oil and gas industry. The depletion method, I know, is limited for the oil and gas industry, and it's not available to companies that produce oil as well as refine or market it. As an example, big oil, that kind of thing. I think another big one that's always out there, too, is the manufacturer's deduction, which is something that is available to all manufacturers, and so that's nothing unique to oil and natural gas either. So any kind of deduction that any other industry is allowed to deduct, we are also. So, again, not a carve-out for us by any means.
Well, and if you understand, I don't know if you have, a tax or accounting issue, and that's why, a background experience, but my understanding is that these are things that you would pay eventually. Like this, I think is important because people may we have a lot of politically interested people, and I'm interested not just informing them, but arming them as well if they have their own debates with their neighbors or whatever like that. And people may bring this up and say, well, look, here it is in the code. I can show you right here where there's an issue that just applies to oil companies or things like that. But aren't those costs that would be sooner or later deducted in 1 year or another anyway?
I believe so, but I can't vouch for that 100%. I am not an accountant or a CPA, so I can't really get into the weeds to get too deep there.
Yeah, because my understanding is that it actually sort of works against the company. It's saying if you spend money today, this year, you can't deduct it all this year. So it actually sort of works against the business more than for them, saying you're not allowed to deduct all the money that you spent this year. You have to spread it out over the life of the well or that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay, so now, I don't know, let's see, I'm watching the break. We're going to have a 2-minute break in a moment, and Rick Trader's telling me he has questions after the break. So I'm timing this out, but, this morning on C-SPAN, somebody was saying, I think I'll jump here a bit. I think you'll be able to pivot to this without warning. Somebody says, with what's going on right now, the oil companies are making so much money, why don't you just lower your prices? And, of course, I just, it's like the chalkboard there, because I think there's confusion about, the price per, or the profit per barrel and the total overall size of the oil companies. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yes.
The idea that you could just lower their price because you're making, per each barrel because you're making so much money.
Right. And I tell you what, that's the whole earnings versus profits issue, essentially. And surprise, surprise, people like to confuse those or actually take that out of context or mischaracterize it. And again, it's not a fact that's not well understood. And, in part, I think because reports usually focus on only half the story, that profits, the profits that are earned, but profits reflect the size of the industry, okay? But they're not necessarily a good reflection of financial performance. So there's just a big difference there. And when you look at earnings by industry, oil and natural gas is probably the 10th on the list. The top of the list is the computer industry, earning almost 20 cents on the dollar, and that's based on fourth quarter 2013 numbers. So you have computers, you have the beverage and tobacco industries, the chemical industry, manufacturing, you name it, ahead of oil and natural gas. And oil and natural gas is earning 6.3 cents on the dollar for that same time period.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Rick. I'm sorry, I can't wait till after break to jump in. This turn of the conversation's got me a bit riled up now. When people say that the energy companies, the oil, the gas companies, should cut their prices, I keep thinking back of a statistic that I heard a while back that the oil and gas companies make about 6 or 7 cents on a gallon of gas, where government taxation takes about 60 cents on a gallon of gas. Are those correct figures?
I don't know about if they're exact correct figures, but I can tell you, Rick, the deal here is this. Crude oil, obviously the price of crude oil is the main factor in pricing of gasoline, okay?
Right.
That world market of crude oil. And taxes are a big part of that. So by the time you're done with paying the taxes, paying the price of crude oil, marketing the product, profit margins are extremely thin at that point in time. So I guess I would, to answer that is yes. There's a huge disparity there between, what actual, margins are there at the end versus what you're paying in taxes, price of crude oil, and anything else there.
Well, Stephanie, could you hold on? We've got to take a break. Could you hold on through our break, please, just for 2 minutes? Love to come back and continue our conversation with you. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners. Our guest this segment is Stephanie Wisman. She's the Executive Director of the Associated Petroleum Industries of Pennsylvania. So please don't go away. Jonathan and I will be right back with more with Stephanie.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would live in liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course around the world on the internet. And our guest this segment is Stephanie Wisman. She's the Executive Director of the Associated Petroleum Industries of Pennsylvania. Stephanie, thanks for holding through the break. We really do appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
You know, Stephanie, we're talking with you today why oil and gas tax treatments are not subsidies. And I've got to ask you for a minute if maybe you need to be a little bit critical of your own industry for a moment. And where I'm going with this is that, do you think that your industry is doing enough to straighten out the truth about big oil companies getting subsidies, government subsidies? Do you think that maybe your industry should do a little bit more to straighten out and get the facts out there?
I think we've done a pretty good job of getting the facts out there. It's just a matter of who wants to listen to them, you know, point and simple. I mean, I think that no matter how many times you say something, if somebody doesn't want to believe it, they're not going to believe it. They're just going to believe what they want to believe. So I think that, you know, on behalf of API, I think that we've done a pretty good job of getting that message out there. But again, I think big oil, quote unquote, is an easy target, you know, for one reason or another, and it's easy to pick on us. So, you know, I think you can, you know, whether it's, you know, before Congress, whether it's before state legislatures and others, but, you know, that's what we're continually doing, trying to carry that message not only on taxes and the myths that we're subsidized, but on a whole host of issues.
Well, also maybe your industry should, again, I might be asking you to be a little bit critical of your industry, but we're just getting these facts out here, that there are energy companies getting huge subsidies, and they're the green energy companies, the wind, the solar, the biofuels, and that the subsidies are the only ways that those industries can stay afloat. And let's call subsidies what they are, Stephanie. They're taking more money out of the consumer's pocket. So might your industry do more to say to the American people, hey, folks, wake up. It's not the oil, gas, and energy companies that are taking these subsidies. It is these green energy companies that are actually raiding your wallet.
You know, and that's a decision that's going to have to be made, obviously, by the federal and state governments. I mean, what API has always said is, in regard to energy, is that to meet our energy demand of this nation going forward, we're going to need an all-of-the-above energy strategy. So that not only includes oil and natural gas, but that's going to include coal, nuclear, the renewables, you know, and that's what we're saying. It's like, hey, we're going to need everything, you know.
Well, I'll agree on the coal and nuclear. I'll agree on the coal and nuclear, but a very good friend of this show, former Congressman John Peterson, from Titusville, Pennsylvania, has been on with us many times, and the one message that John has always gotten out there is, with all the wind and solar projects that are out there and on the boards, we will never get more than 2% of our energy needs from these exotic alternative sources like wind and solar.
Well, that could be, you know. I mean, I haven't looked that closely at the numbers, but, you know, the point is, it's like, hey, you know, we've got all these energy sources. I think that, as an example, wind and solar have their place in the market, but obviously, you know, going forward, there's no way we can power our energy needs on just renewables. I mean, you need a stable source of energy, not an intermittent source of energy, which is what wind and solar is. If the sun doesn't shine, then you're out of luck, and if the wind doesn't blow, you're out of luck. So you need a stable, reliable energy source, obviously, such as natural gas, coal, nuclear, you know, oil, etc. So, yeah, I mean, I think that solar and wind definitely have a role to play here in the energy portfolio, but obviously cannot go it alone by any means.
Well, you know, Stephanie, the other way I look at wind and solar is, as I say, it takes huge government subsidies to keep these things going. For instance, state of New Jersey, the ratepayers are made to pay 16 times more for energy produced from wind and solar than through traditional methods of gas, oil, or coal, or nuclear. So I don't think that's fair. I don't know. Understood. John, with that, I'll swing it back to you.
I thought it was really interesting. You're saying that that the computer industry typically makes a higher percentage profit, and yet nobody is hostile to them, at least unless their computer is crashing.
Right.
But so, with just a couple minutes left, I think, do you want to say something about the other topic that we did want, expect to have you talk about whether the oil industry pays their fair share? And I think this is another area where perhaps people are just confused by numbers.
Sure. No, and I can see why people are confused. There's so many numbers and statistics out there. But what I can tell you is the oil and natural gas industry has the highest effective tax rate among all industries. We pay 44.3% an effective tax rate, and that's higher than any other industry. You know, right behind us, healthcare, utilities, retail, pharmaceuticals, etc. So, and not only that, something that's key to this issue is keeping in mind what our capital expenditures are, how much money the oil and natural gas industry is expending. And I can tell you this, the oil and natural gas industry spends $156 billion on capital expenditures. So this is big business, obviously. Very expensive projects, expensive infrastructures. So obviously that's a lot of money to be spending out there. And the only other industry that comes closer is the financial and insurance industry at about $111 billion there. So yeah, I mean it's amazing to see that. So when you think about it, it's like how much money our industry is spending.
Stephanie, and when you talk about that money your industry is spending, I want to make sure our listeners understand that money is being put to employ people, real good paying jobs.
Yes.
It's not just going into space or something. This is putting people,
not at all.
This is putting people to work.
Just throw another number out there, which is rock solid. But the oil and natural gas industry, on average, has on average salary of almost $96,000. Okay, in 2012, and that's 95% higher than the average private sector salary, okay, which is around $49,000. So these are good paying jobs, no matter what part of the industry that you're working in.
And Stephanie, I wanted to point out, the jobs numbers that came out like last week. The glowing jobs numbers. Most of those jobs were retail or food services, meaning waiters, waitresses, burger flippers, and that about 6,000 of those jobs were actually manufacturing jobs. Just think what this country could do with the increased employment if our government would let the oil and gas industry really provide jobs for all of us.
Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, that's what we're providing. We're providing, 9.8 million jobs is what the oil and natural gas industry supports nationwide. I mean, that's something you just got to look at and say, wow, that's just unbelievable how many jobs it supports. And the fact that we pay $85 million a day to the federal government in taxes, rents, royalties. When you take a look at these numbers, you see that the oil and natural gas industry is providing good paying jobs, millions of jobs, and is paying more than its fair share in business taxes.
This is John Mosley again, and I don't want to make it sound like a rally, but I think people need to think through how business works, what's really going on, what the numbers really mean, and things. And as I understand it, when you talk about a lot of that spending, you're talking about a lot of searching, sometimes searching in the wrong places for oil, so that when I drive up at the pump and want gas, it's there because a lot of money has been spent looking to try to find it. Right? So that's part of the bargain, isn't it?
Sure. Oh, yeah, the exploration piece of it, absolutely. Yep, exploration, production, I mean, everything that it takes, from the upstream side, which is, the exploration and production side, to the midstream, which is that pipeline, our transportation part of it to get that product to the consumer, to the downstream side of the industry, which is the infrastructure to refine the product, and then eventually marketing it and transporting it to the end user. So that's all of that.
I'm not sure that people really take that. It doesn't seem real when you talk about, there's all this exploration. That just seems non-real. And but you wouldn't have gas at the pump if somebody didn't go out and do a lot of trial and error, maybe not find it. Find some dry holes. Unfortunately, we are running out of time here. So, would you like to give out your website where people can follow your information and keep in touch?
Absolutely. It's www.api.org.
That's great. The Associated Petroleum Industries of Pennsylvania, Stephanie Wisman, thanks for being with us today. It was a great interview.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I really enjoyed being with you again.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. Appreciated your time. And we like having you on because I think this is a very important issue for our country. Thanks for being with us today. And with that, John, we got to wrap it up. And I want to thank our guest today. I want to thank Mr. John Forsyth Jr. for doing a great job working the boards as he always does. John, I want to thank you for co-hosting with me. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.